just like any other sport, in bowling, you need more than just the main equipment. Now, it is, of course, very important to have a bowling ball, to have bowling shoes. It's great to have a bowling bag to be able to bring those bowling balls in. But there's a ton of other accessories that you need when you're bowling. And I'm going to show you all the ones that I have that can help you be a little more consistent when you're bowling, have a little better feel, be ready if any kind of emergencies happen, things like that. So let's get right into it to check out what I think you need in an accessory bag in bowling. Let's start first things first. So I carry all of my accessories and my shoes inside of a backpack. So this is really a personal preference. A lot of people like to use a backpack to be able to carry everything. This can be an actual bowling backpack. I recommend just a random old school backpack of from high school, from college, an Under Armour backpack, something like that. Because it is really easy to carry all of this junk with you around in a backpack compared to in the little compartments inside of your bowling bags. They usually don't come with that many compartments. So this is, in my opinion, the easiest way to haul all of this stuff around. Now, what I'm going to do is start with, in my opinion, the most important accessories to have, and then slowly go down the list of the more niche accessories to have. So first things first, step number one, the thing I think any bowler with a reactive bowling ball needs, some kind of chamois. Now, do I recommend the Champions Pro Shop chamois from Owatonna, Minnesota and Mankato, Minnesota? Absolutely. But in general, just some kind of bowling chamois to be able to wipe the oil off of your bowling ball. When you throw a bowling ball, there's oil that's going to be left on it. And if you don't ever clean that oil off, your ball ends up dying much, much quicker. You're going to notice it not hook as much. You're going to notice it get really slimy. You're going to notice it just sucks in general if you never wipe the oil off. Some people like to use microfiber towels, which I have somewhere here. Microfiber towels are a great way to do it, but in my opinion, chamois are a little better at absorbing that oil and getting dirty a little less quickly. Now, you do still need to clean things like chamois. The easiest way to do it is just get a tub, like a Tupperware tub of warm water with some Dawn dish soap in it. Leave the chamois in that for about 10 or 15 minutes. It's going to absorb a lot of the oil or extract a lot of the oil, and you'll be good to go. Like I said, other options, microfibers. These are cheaper. Chamois are usually $15 to $25-ish. Microfibers are a lot cheaper. You can usually get 5 or 6 for that price. So really up to you. I prefer a chamois. Some people do like microfibers though. Next accessory up is going to be a rosin bag. Now, a rosin bag is just like what a lot of other sports do to be able to make your hand be a little drier, because if you're someone like me, my hands get super sweaty super quickly no matter what I'm doing. If I'm bowling, if I'm golfing, if I'm playing baseball, if I'm playing video games, my hands just get really dry, and rosin helps me make sure that they stay a lot drier for longer. So is this needed? Not specifically. Do you need a Storm one specifically? No, it's what we have at our pro shop. So check your local pro shop. You might be able to find rosin bags for pretty cheap. So I always recommend to have one just in case you're in a very humid environment or it's super hot in a bowling center and you're sweating a lot, because that can happen. And just to have it as a last ditch option in case you really just can't hang on to your ball because your hands are so sweaty. Now, we're going to get into more of the niche ones. So if you are a two-handed bowler or someone who doesn't use your thumb, you can skip a little bit ahead in the video. I'll have some chapters below so you can just scroll on to something that is more appropriate for you. But for anyone who uses their thumb, the other thing to have is extra slugs for your interchangeable thumbs if you use them. Now, me personally, I use Turbo interchangeable switch grips. These are my personal favorite. The other options are Vice Its or Jopo grips. Now, I have a ton of these. I probably have 6 or 7 in my bag at all times because my thumb changes sizes very, very quickly. So instead of always taking tape out, putting tape in, things like that, I carry multiple of these around. Also, some with slightly different pitches depending on how the feel is for the day, because the last thing you want is your thumb to not fit in the ball, or you have to grab the ball because your thumb is too tiny. So it's always good to have extra interchangeables. I always recommend people having 2 to 3, especially because you can lose them at a bowling center. If the thumb somehow pops out down on the lane or even behind the lane in the machine, it might be gone forever and you're going to lose that thumb. It happens. It sucks. It's pretty rare, but if it does happen, you want to be prepared just in case. Now, still for our bowlers who use their thumb, we are going to talk about some thumb tape. So there's two kinds of thumb tape. There's some that you put on your thumb, which a lot of people really like to use for feel. You put it on the back of your thumb, and then it's a little bit of a textured feel, helps protect that side of your thumb. So that's one option. The other option is actual tape that you put inside of the bowling ball. So this is tape to make your thumb feel a little more snug, make it a little bit tighter, because the last thing you want is too loose of a thumb hole. So there's two different kinds of tape. Other companies make it. I believe Storm has some, Turbo has some, Vice has some. Ton of companies make thumb tape. The two best kinds you can have though are white textured tape. So the white textured tape actually has a lot of like grit to it to a certain degree. So that's what you put on the front of your thumb hole to improve the feel, to make it feel like your thumb is going to stay in there a little bit longer. The other option is a more slippery black tape. This is completely slick. There's different kinds of this, different slipperiness. That's not a word. We're going with it though. Different textures to it. So that goes on the back of your thumb hole. These are great for when you really need to change the size of your thumb hole. I use them a ton. I go through a couple pieces of tape every time I bowl because my thumb doesn't stop changing sizes. But this is very good to know because when we're drilling a bowling ball at a pro shop, we can't ever perfect your thumb size. Thumbs are weird and they change all the time. Your thumb changes as the temperature changes. So that's a very important thing to remember. If you're in a climate like I am in Minnesota, where it can be 100 degrees in the summer and negative 30 in the winter at times, you really need some kind of thumb tape to be able to fit so you don't have to drill out a bunch of new thumbs. Coming up next is a very generic sports thing that you should have really for any sport you play, especially when you get a little bit older. You usually don't need it before you turn, 20 or 21, but after that you might need it, and it's athletic tape. I use it for my wrist personally to give a little bit of extra structure to my wrist, but some people use it throughout their arm. They use it on their legs, they use it on shoulders. It could be KT tape, it could be anything like that. So there's a ton of different options for tape. With that, I always carry some kind of scissors around with me because that you need something to cut the tape with. So trying to rip it is not a fun time. So I always carry scissors in my accessory bag also, just in case. And then even too, if my shoelaces were ripping when I was actually using shoelaces on my bowling shoes, scissors was really, really nice to be able to cut that, to make it a little bit cleaner, to retie it. Now, one that I personally don't use anymore, but I used for years and years, was finger tape. So the finger tape I was using was Vice Ultra Skin. This was, in my opinion, the best and the stickiest one that stuck to your finger the best. But this is used to give a little bit of better feel on your finger. So I personally used it on my ring finger because my finger would always get blisters on the inside of it whenever I didn't have tape on it. When I put tape on it, the feel got 10 times better and I wasn't ripping as much on my finger. Now I did take that off over the last month or two because my grip and my fit is a lot better. But in general, finger tape is really, really nice. A ton of pros use it. I know EJ Tackett uses it all the time. Chris Prather uses it all the time. A couple other pros like to use it just to protect their fingers a little more, give them a little different feel compared to just your actual finger in the ball. There are different kinds. So this kind I showed you was a Vice kind. There's also a silver Vice Ultra Skin or Bio Skin. And then there's a few other options from other companies. But it's always good to have. I recommend trying it once. Maybe the feel will be better for you, maybe not. Now, one that is going to be a bowler's best friend, especially if you're a tournament bowler and you have to bowl multiple days in a row or really long blocks, is going to be some new skin. Some new skin or some liquid bandage is going to be amazing when you end up tearing your fingers open. It happens even with the best of fits. You will sometimes tear your fingers open. Like for me, it is very dry in Minnesota right now, so my fingers ripped one time. It was just a little too easy to rip. My hands were a little too dry. Got a cut in them, and then it's very hard for that cut to go away, especially if you have to bowl a couple times a week. So the other option is to take time off of bowling. We don't like to do that as bowlers. So new skin is the play, liquid bandage. It will hurt on an open wound, so I don't recommend it on an open wound. If you're getting too many blisters also, it might not be the weather or your hands being too dry or overuse. It might be a grip or a fitting issue. So go talk to your pro shop if it's consistently in the same spot. But otherwise, new skin is very nice to be able to be a temporary solution to any grip or any rips on your hands. Now, this next one's very, very niche, but I adore this thing, and that is a file. So I carry a file, a very soft file. This one technically from Bath and Body Works, not sponsored, but Bath and Body Works, hit me up. That'd be great. What I use it for is to actually use it on my calluses and on my fingers if they swell a little too much. It keeps your fingers soft. It gets rid of some of the dead skin that's on your hands, and it makes your feel just a little bit better. I like to use it once every couple weeks on my fingers, especially where the calluses are, to just smooth out those areas, keep your hand a little bit healthier, because in bowling, while you need to stay healthy in, the knees and the shoulders and all that, you also need to keep your hand healthy. That is a very important one that you don't have to do in many other sports, but bowling, it is essential, because if you don't have a healthy hand, bowling gets very, very tough. So some kind of soft file is something that I recommend. One accessory that I don't have with me right now that I can't show is a wire brush. Now, a wire brush is used for the bottom of your bowling shoes on the sliding portion to get rid of any gunk that's on them, or be able to slide just a little bit further, or actually stop a little bit quicker if you want to do that. So just a regular wire brush, you can get them from Home Depot, you can get them from Lowe's, you can get them from virtually anywhere. You can get them from your pro shop. I believe that's where I got mine. They are very, very good if you just want to be able to keep your shoe clean. There are some bowling centers you go to, they're just always dusty. They're always just that little bit dirty. We all know that bowling center that happens at. So having a wire brush can be really good to keep your shoes clean, because if you're not sliding as much as you want or not sticking as much as you want, and you have bad footwork and things just don't feel good, your entire bowling game is off. So that is a very important one in my opinion. Now, this is going to be a bowler's best friend, especially a tournament bowler, and that is going to be, let me grab the right one, an Abralon pad. Abralon pad, true cut pad, some kind of sanding pad is going to be great to keep the surface of your ball at what you want. So this is generally used most of the time to sand the surface of the ball down to get it to hook earlier and be smoother. In a tournament, if you go to a tournament setting where there's a lot of oil, you're going to see a ton of these pads being used on bowling balls, and that's used to smooth out the reactions and make the ball hook earlier. Because when you're in a tournament, and in bowling in general, you want that ball to hook a little bit earlier so it's predictable. Because if it doesn't hook early enough, you're going to be missing the head pin right, or it's going to be hooking way too much down lane, and you're going to go through the face and leave splits. So sanding pads are a bowler's best friend, especially on urethane. So if you want to know more about bowling surfaces, I have a video on my YouTube channel. Otherwise, I will be making one sometime in 2025. And my final recommendation for your accessory bag in bowling is extra slide pads if you have interchangeable shoes. So if your shoe has soles that can be switched in and out, I always recommend having multiple kinds of interchangeable ones depending on the bowling center you're in, or if yours get wet. As we all know, if you get a bowling shoe wet in the bottom of it, you're not going to slide. The water causes your shoe to stick on the approach. You will not slide. You might hurt yourself. So that's why having interchangeable soles on your shoes is a necessity. So I usually carry about 6 to 8 with me at all times for any kind of situation I'm going to be putting myself into. For example, when Nationals or the USBC Open Championships is in Vegas, I usually have to change mine quite a bit because humidity is just a little bit weird compared to it is at home in Minnesota. So this is a very important one, but only for bowlers who have shoes that have interchangeable slides on them. And that is everything that I carry with me in my accessory bag and in my backpack for bowling. There are a couple other more niche things you can put in your bag. Some people like to have things like ibuprofen in their bag. Some people like to have other weirder things for bowling that you can throw in them. These are my recommendations. These are my top choices. I recommend having a handful of these things. If you don't have some of these, try to answer the question for yourself of, do I need this? If you don't know the answer to it, put it down in the comments and I will help you answer that question if you need it or not. Now, a house shot bowler or a league bowler might not need all of these things, but a tournament bowler, I highly recommend most, if not all, of everything that I've shown. Now, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know. This is a little different of a video, so let me know if you liked it or not. Otherwise, I will see you on the next one.